Welcome back to This Was Supposed to Be Easy, your go-to podcast for connection, joy, and a good dose of laughter.
Hosted by two friends who've seen enough of life to know that it's never as simple as it sounds
or looks.
Each conversation celebrates the diverse journeys we travel, the moments of bravery, the strength we didn't know we had, and the joy we find along the way.
Because let's be honest, life is full of things that were supposed to be easy, but turned out to be harder.
And definitely funnier
than we thought. This is Amy.
And this is Cheryl. And if it were easy, we wouldn't be here.
Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be here today. We have a guest, and she's a good friend of mine, Erin Smith-Gaken. Erin is going to talk to us a little bit about being new at things, but also from the idea of sometimes when we have children, for those listeners that do, we think that we kind of have to have all of our kids' activities mapped out before they can even really walk themselves. And so many things, so many entities have told us that that's what we have to do. So for the purpose of today, we're going to talk about it from kind of two perspectives, what it's like to parent someone that, ultimately we don't know yet. And then going all the way into our own adulthood and when we're new at things, trying something new and what that looks like and how sometimes it takes a little bit of a jump of courage to try something new when familiar feels so comfortable. So I'm going to turn it over to Erin to further introduce herself and get us started in the conversation.
Thanks, Amy. I'm really excited to be here today and to be on your podcast to chat about this topic that I have lots of thoughts and feelings about, specifically towards maybe more the child or children piece of it, but also, again, from a grown-up adult perspective as well. So I do have two children. I have a 10-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. We are well into activities for my 10-year-old daughter, which is, again, where I think I have all these feelings really starting from, and happy to talk about that in a little bit. But my 4-year-old, of course, is just more getting started with things and activities after school, whatever it might be. And that's where, again, I feel like you could make the wrong choice, which I feel as a parent shouldn't be something that any of us should have to feel when kids are trying to be parts of different activities or extracurriculars. From an adult's perspective in my own life, I work, and now I made a transition from working in higher ed for about 15, close to 20 years, and have over the last couple of years worked more in corporate America, in learning and development, and HR. And so I even feel like from my own world have experienced a new thing that I had to kind of jump a leap of faith for to be a part of and to make a change. Even from jobs, though, to new extracurricular fun things that I might want to do for myself. I feel like we are in a point as adults where it is harder than we probably would like to get those things started, whether, again, it's a fun thing that fills your cup, or maybe, again, like I did, a completely different job change that still takes, like Amy said, courage and getting the confidence to be able to know that you can do that. So I don't know where you want to start, Amy and Cheryl, but I have lots of thoughts for both. I don't know if we want to start with the littles and work our way up, but I will let you both decide and tell me.
Yeah, let's kind of start with that. If we're thinking about the age group, let's start with littles and the idea of parenting and helping kids figure out what they're interested in.
Great. So I'll give you a little bit of a backstory about my own upbringing, I guess, because I'm from a very small town, rural America. And when you wanted to do something, you could basically do it, right? Like, I think we were begging people at times to play the sport, right? That we didn't have enough people to play. I also realized that is a lens that I bring to this, or a perspective I have, is my upbringing, of course, is different than I feel like my own children's is going to be, because we live in a different place. And although where I live is not a huge city, it's definitely significantly larger in terms of the competition for anything, whether, again, it's sports or plays or dancing or whatever it might be. And so I feel like there is this societal pressure for us to have our kids know what they want to do at age 4 or 5. If my kid doesn't start to play extreme travel, whatever it's called, sports, for example, softball or soccer, starting at age 5, that by the time they do get to an age where they really might be more true to themselves and know who they are and what they are interested in at whatever age that is, adolescence, that they're going to be significantly behind in whatever that thing is, again, whether that is a sport or something else. And so I hate that. I hate it so much. I've ranted to so many parents about it, because my daughter, she tried soccer, right, at age 4 or 5. And direct quote, as a kindergartner, told me that she isn't aggressive enough for soccer, which is which
Very
is
insightful.
very insightful at age 5 or 6, but also very true, right? So at least she kind of knew that about herself, that yeah, she isn't the type that wanted to be out there being aggressive. That's not was not the sport for her. She has now also tried basketball a little bit, liked it, but again, didn't stick. And she's been in dance now for a good few years. So right now, dance is her thing. She just started at age 10 this summer playing softball, which I'm really excited to have her try something new. But again, a little piece of me when we signed her up to play softball starting at age 10, which I didn't even start playing softball until I think I was 11, just again for differences of perspective or different experiences. A little piece of my mom parent heart was nervous, right? She would feel, very defeated or frustrated if she wasn't as good as the other girls on the team because she hadn't been playing it again since she was 5 years old. And I hate that that's where we are, right? I would love for any kid to be able to walk on to any new activity and not feel like they're going to be so behind or that it's going to hurt them in some way. Being behind in terms of the skills or whatever the thing is that you need to be good at is one thing, right? Because hopefully we are able to create these environments for our kids where we can tell them, right? You might have to practice it and learn it, right? Everything, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? You got to practice it. Practice makes perfect. It's hard for me to think about that they internalize what they could experience as, again, a 10-year-old, that I don't want them to think that they're going to get made fun of or be bullied or whatever it might be because they aren't living up to whatever this expectation is, or that they're less than because this person has been doing it, this kid, this also very young person, for 5 years more than them. So I would love for us to get to a point where society, parents aren't, I feel like, drilling that also into their kids to make this be a thing that they have to choose. And also, I'm going to be honest, I feel like a lot of the times the parents are picking for the kids,
Mhm.
which also is a whole other maybe topic, but that's, I think, part of it, right? Is that, I don't know if my kid wants to be on really wants to be on this travel softball team at age 7. That sounds miserable also for the parents, right? You want your whole weekend to be gone when you don't even know if this is something that they're going to love. There's a lot, I feel like, of layers to it. But the biggest thing for me is I want her to be able to still at age 16, right? 10 years or 6 years from now, to be able to say, I want to try this new thing and to
Mhm.
feel like that's okay. And I don't think that right now we are in the point in society where that is okay, right? That's like a norm or an accepted, maybe that's the wrong word, but it's a different experience than, again, what I had. And I don't love it.
Erin, there are so many thoughts. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure.
I started writing things down, and I have to say, obviously, I'm coming from the perspective of my children are
Hmm.
now 27 and 30.
Yep.
And so I had a totally different experience parenting, also in a maybe a little bit smaller community. I think their graduating classes were around 100, something like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
But I remember even at that point in time offering a few, hey, do you want to try soccer? And I know that that came because my husband played soccer, right?
Sure.
But there was community soccer, and so they tried that and they enjoyed that, but it was a community that didn't have school soccer teams. And
Uh-huh.
so it didn't necessarily go anywhere, and definitely I wasn't living in a space professionally even where I could consider
Hmm.
those travel teams
Yeah.
and all of the dedication that is affiliated with that. But I remember them having certain friends who, even by the time we were in upper elementary school or middle school, which is when the official school sports began,
Hmm.
where they were already in multiple sports, and the parents were running from, we have overlapping practices for this, and I have to get them to Mount Pleasant here and then Shepherd here, and
Hmm.
thinking, this is not going to be my life. Like, as a parent, making very specific decisions about, we will try a sport at
Hmm.
a time. But the only I'm going to say sport or activity that I at the time really thought about, you have to start doing this at 4 or 3 or whatever, was dance, right? Like I would go to things and see, even to be on the pom squad or whatever it's
Sure.
called, Like you had to totally be doing dance from a young child, a very early age. So you're introducing something to me that I was like, gosh, the
Hmm.
idea of almost feeling like you've missed the boat before
Yes.
you're 8.
Yes.
I
Which is insane.
I hate it. I hate it.
Yes.
For myself, so we've talked about my kids' ages before, but 2016 and 14. And I had a similar situation when my middle child was younger. He was about 8, and some of his friends, so he's always been interested more for the social aspect than the activity aspect of himself for
Hmm.
himself. Meaning that if his friends were doing it, he wanted to do it too because he wanted to be with his friends more so
Hmm.
than, oh, he loved baseball or loved soccer or loved anything for that. And so I remember with him, some friends had been playing baseball and he wanted to play baseball. And I remember looking into it when he was 8. And I was actually laughed at by another parent who told me,
What?
like, yeah, who told me, like, oh, no, like, we'd need him to be back with the 5-year-olds. Like, this is already a further, like, a much more advanced activity than he is. And unless he's been having private lessons from this time and this time, then, like, there's no
Mm-mm.
way that he can do it. And I kind of in a little different situation, I grew up in a medium-sized town, but our high school was very large, one of the largest in the state, in a big soccer community. I tried soccer when I was younger. I too do not think I was aggressive enough. I hear your daughter's
Yes.
words coming out of my own mouth. That was not my thing. Running, no, no, didn't like it. But my parents had me try everything. And so I have pictures of, T-ball. I have pictures in soccer. I have pictures
Hmm.
in, I think, polka dancing. I have, like bizarre things.
Wait, did
Yes.
you just say like polka dancing?
Polka dancing. My grandfather was from Poland. Yes, I
I love
tried
that.
polka dancing for a season. All of those types of things, and realized I hated all of them. Nothing stuck until art because I loved art, and
Mhm.
then beyond that, I liked making money, and so I started working really really young and created my own business and did all of those things in lieu of sports. But what I learned kind of with that is that, yeah, if you weren't good or didn't have the foundational layers, then
Mhm.
you were not going to make it. And I thought that kind of went away, but I realized it only magnified. And so when my oldest, who she did years of gymnastics when she was very young, just, the program here at the college that I feel like every kid kind of did for a couple of years. She
Mhm.
did that for a few years, but I didn't realize how foundational that was going to be to when she decided she wanted to do cheer in 8th grade, like going into her high school year. And I was like, really, cheer? Are you sure? And she was like, I want to give this a try. And she turned out that she was pretty good at it. But I watched so many other kids who joined the cheer team at like just starting out who didn't have foundational work like in it. And the foundation wasn't encouraged. There wasn't the encouragement of being new at something. It was like, you already show a natural expertise. And if that
Mhm.
is the case, then yes, you should continue. And if it wasn't, then I watched all these kids really defeated dropping
Yeah.
off because they didn't. So again, I think as a society with this kind of mentality, we don't encourage be learning how to be new, which I think is really
Mhm.
the thing that I would want to teach my child is try everything, see what sticks, because the skill of learning to be new and step outside and take risks is so important all throughout your life.
100%. I agree. And I had that kind of conversation with my daughter when she started softball because we're very lucky that school for her is comes pretty naturally, right? She does very well academically, so we're at least in that area we're great. But I would say in terms of like physical related or athletic, related sports or activities, like she has to probably try a little bit harder than some other kids, which isn't bad, right? Like how do you teach grit? You give kids situations where they have to have grit, right? Like this is a great opportunity for her to have that. And so I said to her, there are some kids at school who have to try harder at school than you, right? And then they might be able to go be really amazing soccer player right off the get, right? Where you thankfully, right? Don't have to try a lot at school, which is really great. But you might have to try in different spots of your life than other people, which is, again, not a big thing. But to your point, Amy, it's a really great skill set to be able to try something new and not have that kind of defeatist or be prone, I guess, to feeling defeated or having that kind of defeatist attitude from the get go. But I will circle back to something else you were saying in terms of like what that parent said and what Ella or what your daughter's experience was with cheer, and that you watch these kids come in and feel like you already had to have this foundation, or you already had to kind of have this natural ability. I feel like we lose, and again, this is me kind of again pointing a finger at the parents or the coaches. We're no longer coaching to coach, to teach and learn something, helping a kid learn something new at age whatever. If it's too late, I'm using air quotes that you all can't see because I don't think that there is a too late. So let's say at age 12, right, or even 14 or 15 in high school, or they're moving from, or again, the parents and coaching and all of that are moving from being able to actually coach and teach, right? This is what we should be doing, is letting them learn this new thing. And instead they're just there for the enhancement or the how do I make you better, right? They're not there to start from the beginning. They're there to start from the how can we make you better at this thing that you already are either started doing, or you already, like you said, Amy, are naturally at least showing some skill set for. So we're automatically kind of putting these other kids in a different, bucket, that you aren't either of these things. And I'm not really willing probably to get to the point where I need to get you up to speed, right? Like you said, Cheryl, you've missed the boat. It's too late for you. Next student, please. Right. That's how I feel like kind of it is. And it's terrible. That's terrible. And again, I do, like I said, feel like it's a great opportunity for kids to learn grit, and so I'm not saying, they have to get everything and everything has to be, handed to them on a silver platter. So I don't want to be, have that what people are taking from this, but it's more, you need to give them the environment where you're willing to coach them, like truly coach and teach them, versus kind of looking at them, right? Judging a book by its cover analogy, right? And automatically saying like, this isn't for you. Like they did for your kid at age 8 when he wanted to just play baseball, which is asinine. So yeah, I think it really comes down unfortunately with our kids and their new things is we need to be better. We grown-ups, coaches, teachers, whoever it might be, at creating that environment that is about that. That is about letting them learn that new thing, even if it's going to take a little bit of more trying and getting knocked down and getting back up to become better at it or get to the level where you need to be.
As I'm listening to you, I keep jumping between the importance of your role as a parent
Mm-hmm.
and how you approach parenting, and just really love that you're emphasizing the importance of allowing children opportunities to try and say nope, not for me, or
Mm-hmm.
try and fail, and build some of that grit, but at the same time, or while at the same time, that process works when there's a loving, supportive parent or adult
Mm-hmm.
who is willing to have those hard conversations and help prepare ahead of time a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
process what's happening during the experience, and just really be there
Mm-hmm.
to, to help a child think and have a conversation about and make decisions as they're um, feeling all the feels and
Yes.
engaging in all of the experiences. And at the same time, who wears only one hat, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned us as the community program coach
Right.
or art teacher or any kind of teacher or coach, or those other hats that we wear, and where that falls into that broader society and the expectations that
Mm-hmm.
we're putting on our children. And I'm just going to take a quick minute to, what I do all the time is go back to my early childhood roots, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about the value of tools and materials, and not necessarily putting our toddler into an organized sport, but
Mm-hmm.
making sure they have opportunities to feel balls and practice throwing or kicking, and building the gross motor skills, or having access to the finger paints or the shaving cream in the shower or whatever it is, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the value of materials, and even found materials, to try things, but then as the adult watching, right? Like
Mhm.
just looking for in natural play environments,
Sure.
what is my child drawn to? What are they finding? What are they doing with the materials? How could I encourage them? How can I, again, let them fail at
Mhm.
something, ask them questions, ask for their ideas, and provide those opportunities to move forward with those ideas. And that's the parent in the role that is gathering, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
gathering knowledge, I'm gathering information about my child so that I can continue to put things in their way that will allow them to learn more about themselves. And
Mhm.
again, it's cyclical in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Something that really stands out here as both of you were talking that really kind of reminded me. I think too, the idea of like watching your child, giving those experiences, those types of things, providing environments, there is, and maybe it's neuroplasticity, but I remember coming across a quote and then it led to kind of a foundation. But at some time, usually right around 8 or 9, we will hear children start saying, like, I'm not good at, or I can't. That's so and so's thing. And I do think there is something that right around that stage of life where you talk to a 5-year-old who has a pencil in their hand, they're an artist.
Mhm,
Look at
mhm,
my art, look at this. And then all of a sudden they start looking at all their friends' art and start ranking how theirs looks to that. And so they no longer say they're an artist. They'll start picking out the flaws of it. And I noticed that is what kind of continues to happen as adults. And so if you never tried something, like, for example,
mhm.
let's say skiing. I skied once when I was 6 years old. Now I look at people who ski and I think I will break something in my body if I go, I am not coordinated enough. I have enough injuries. I am not a skier. But also, I'm intimidated by the individuals out there that are skiing. I don't want to ski. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But also, I don't know if I could. I could try.
Mhm.
Again, probably would break something. But I think, though, too, if we can somehow have some of those conversations right around that developmental phase of
Mhm.
8 or 9, to resist the natural skills that we automatically want to start comparing. So to move away, because I think that's one of the things that also happens. So
Mhm.
we start recognizing, or our kids start recognizing, those that have years of practice.
Mhm.
Because, I've talked a little bit, and I'm going to kind of squirrel for a second, but we've talked a little bit about how we're in a very comparative phase when we look at social media. We oftentimes are watching somebody do something on social media, and we're watching them in their like 5, 6, 7 years of experience. Like I use skateboarding as an example. We didn't see how many times person fell on their skateboard leading up to doing these really amazing tricks
Mhm.
on their
Mhm.
skateboard now. And we compare ourselves today of, well, I can't skateboard like that. I can't ski like that. I can't play softball like that. But that's because they're all those years of experience that we didn't witness. And so I think when we
Mhm.
start having those conversations too about comparison, and maybe comparing yourself to who you were a year ago, or comparing
Sure.
who you're going to be versus comparing to everyone else. So when we acknowledge titles, oh, that's Kelsey. Kelsey's an artist. That's, Timmy. Timmy's a baseball player. I can't be those things because I'm not Timmy. I'm not Kelsey. That we start thinking about for ourselves too. Who are we? But also, sure, if I wanted to be, if I want to dedicate the time, if I want to have the thousands of falls beforehand, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not Timmy today because I haven't done the work that happened. And so I think having those conversations younger could
Mhm.
also really help some of that
Amy,
movement forward.
I'm gonna go
Mhm.
with your squirrel for a minute. Just because you made me think of a conversation I had last week. I had, this amazing opportunity to travel. I was in another country. I was working with an author, educator, advocate activist, and she was talking about parenting and noticing that there were certain behaviors that seemed to be projected as female or male or whatever it might be, and very clearly, and I'm going to take it to, she was talking about like spiders and being afraid of spiders. And as a parent, yes, maybe I am afraid of spiders, but I don't want to project onto my two daughters
Mhm.
that women have to be afraid of bugs and be rescued. And so as a parent, she very specifically noticed that and had to purposefully choose reactions when she engaged in the natural world with her children. And I just, as you were going down that pathway a little bit, just even thinking about what we say to ourselves and about ourselves in front of our children can impact all of the things we're talking about.
Mhm. I have 2 thoughts from based off of what things both of you said. Amy, you were talking a lot about the comparative state that we live in all day, every day. And I just wanted to add, because I agree with what you were saying completely, but I wanted to bring in something that, again, to bring this full circle, that yes, the kids are comparing themselves, but again, the grown-ups are comparing the kids too. So
Mhm.
I think that's where we fall even more deeper into this issue is they're maybe even, offender number one, even before the kid, perhaps, of making that feel. And again, whether that's the parent that might be comparing their kid, like I again was nervous about my daughter starting softball. So I will admit that I was like, ooh, she's not going to be as good as these other kids. I don't know how that's going to go. It's also gone very well, by the way. I will say she's enjoying her new thing. She's not the best, but she is learning and not getting defeated, which is great. But yeah, I will say I feel like that comparative piece is a huge piece of this whole puzzle, and that we again should try harder to eliminate that as much as we can, to teach our kids to try not to do that as well, but also take our own advice when it comes to how we might be judging or comparing other kids who are just trying something new, and let them do it even when they're not going to be a rock star from the get-go. And then Cheryl, you talked about the reactions piece, to how you react as a grown up, right? To things, or the woman that you were with in the spiders or whatever it might be. And I think that also can lend into the same thing, right? I'm very intentional about, again, not sharing my quiet thoughts out loud to her, right? I try to keep those to myself or to my husband. But when I'm intentionally trying to talk to her about what we've already kind of talked about with not being afraid to not be the best, right? That you might have to try a little bit harder. And again, making sure that I'm not projecting my worries about how this is going to go on her, and making it, I know that again, that I have her back, right? That I'm here to support her, like you said, providing that safe place to land if that's what's needed, or soft place to land, or both, for if and when it might not go as we all want it to go, or they want it to go, or whoever it might be. So yeah, I think that the big piece of it really comes to what we've been saying, is it's the parenting piece. It's having the support that those kids need to feel like they can try something new, to get rid of that negative self-talk that they very likely already have, unfortunately, at a very young age, and to be better at creating those environments where they can jump in headfirst and learn something new, even though they're brand new and someone's been doing it. Amy, like you said, for 6 years, but we didn't see Timmy fall off the skateboard 40 times before he could do that one trick, right? There's a lot to be said about, I feel like, this topic. I'm sure we could keep talking about it for hours and hours, because there's so many examples all in their own right that kind of always, I think, feed back into this in trying that new thing, or that new activity or sport, whatever it might be.
Well, something else that I think that kind of comes along with it, that maybe even advances this conversation a little bit forward, is the general idea that so often we have, is that there's only one way into doing something as well.
Mm.
Like, so I know for myself, kind of a thing that I have often struggled with over the last couple of years is whenever I've looked at looking for a new job, I have felt like I've had to kind of stay in my lane because I have a degree in X and I do these things. And like, so something that I do right now with my current position that I absolutely love, that I've always been interested, is event planning. But I never felt like I could apply for a position that included event planning, because I was not a certified event planner. I did not have a degree in event planning, and there is a degree for event planning and all of these types of things. But it's a natural hobby that I had that I loved, all of those types of things. So now that I get to do that in my job and do well and want to learn about it, I'm looking at kind of that alternative route into that
Mm-hmm.
line of work. Where before I really felt like, well, if I didn't have a degree in X, then I certainly couldn't do that in the future. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that goes along too with some of the conversations that now as adults, how we approach new things. And
Thanks.
so I'm wondering for both of you, what are the ways or the preconceived notions that you've held when thinking about approaching something new?
I would echo kind of what you just said. I think that we get stuck in like there's one route, point A to point B, which there could be many routes from point A to point B. And so, yeah, from my own experiences, like I said, and kind of the beginning or my intro, that I recently did take a change in position. And I think a lot of it, Amy, for me, in terms of a working world, right? I guess outside of it, fun things that are outside of work, right? That I want to try new, I might look at it differently. But from a working profession standpoint, it's more of like those soft skills or those transferable skills that you clearly have enough of that in your being to do event planning well, right? Even though you never had the opportunity, but you have those other skills that lend themselves really well into being able to effectively and successfully do that. So I think that's kind of how I would look at it. Maybe that's where my brain would go, is that where can I, from a positive stance, right? Like, where could I apply these things to this new job or this new thing that I want to try within my job that I haven't done before, but I likely could be somewhat good at, right? Or learn more about and become better at if I'm given the chance to do so. But on the flip side of that, I think the imposter syndrome is what got me, at least within this current role that I have, my new change, and that I think that it took me a while to land with the fact that they picked me, right? Like this is where there were other candidates, right? They chose me for a reason. I deserve this position because my whole thought from the get-go when applying to this job was there's definitely people that are way more qualified than me for this, right? Like I definitely don't probably deserve this job over dozens of other people. And so whatever it was that I said and or did and in my interview process clearly worked to the point where they trusted in my skills and my ability to be able to do my job effectively. So I think it's both things for me, right? Like, yes, I have these transferable skills, but also, whew, I'm going to judge, as we just talked about, right? I'm going to compare and judge myself against all these other people to see if I can like hold a candle to what I think they're doing versus what I'm doing.
As you're talking, Erin, I just keep thinking about some of the words Amy and I use all the time, right? Like curious. When you can allow yourself to be curious enough to
Mm-hmm.
ask questions, be new, try something, it opens doors. When,
Mm-hmm.
when your mindset can be more flexible, when you can be open to others' perspectives, you can see different ways and different entry points into something, because I too have been stuck in that, but but this is what I'm good at. And for a long time it was early childhood, right? Is what I'm good at. But maybe it's the teaching part. Maybe I'm
Mm-hmm.
good at teaching, and maybe teaching can look different than working only with young children, and or even working only in higher education. So that
Mm-hmm.
now it might be maybe speaking or podcasting, or there has to be this maybe element of recreating how I see what
Mm-hmm.
I've done to fit it into a different, see it through a different lens. I don't want to fit it into a different box necessarily. I'd like the box to be gone.
Sure.
But you're right. We get in our own way because of fear, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes sometimes I've been a little more vocal about what I want to try, and then that stops me because now people are asking me questions about it. And sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to try this quietly for a while and not put it out there until I know if I want it out there.
Which I think is very fair. And you said exactly what my brain was thinking while you and Amy were talking. And Amy and I've talked about this too. Like the switch flips from as kids, it's the grown ups getting in the way sometimes of the kids. But then I feel like once we get to a certain point, it's our own selves that's getting in the way of us being willing to try these new things and I love that you said, Cheryl, like, I'm going to try this quietly before everyone knows about it because it's safer that way. I'm not going to get embarrassed. I'm not going to fail at it in front of everyone in an audience. Like, I don't need an audience for this new thing. And I think that that is a huge piece of it, right? Like we need to be able, maybe if that's what you need to try this new thing, that is great. But the first step, I think, is just getting out of your own way and allowing yourself the space to try that new thing, whatever that might be. When I was trying to look for a position to get out of higher education, that was exactly what I had to quietly do. Right, I wasn't broadcasting it to the world. Just kind of seeing what I needed to do, asking a few folks that I knew had made the transition out to kind of learn, right, what I needed to do to make sure that I was kind of in that right. I won't say, I hate to use the word competitive, but like that I was competitive, right, with the other individuals trying to do the same thing or those that are already in the industry. So yeah, I think it's a very different experience once you hit adulthood in trying those new things and giving yourself whatever that space is for you to be confident enough to give it a try.
One of the things that I also think about, everybody knows, you both know, I love to ask questions, and do so often. But one of the questions I've been asking people a lot lately kind of goes in line with this. And I was on, I think, TikTok and saw a video of a woman who had tried gymnastics as an adult. And she walked
Mhm.
in, signed up for a gymnastics class. And then I noticed that there's like a whole trend of individuals who have done this. And
Mhm.
it really kind of led me to start asking people, what would you do as an adult of something that you want to? But here's the caveat. It can't be something that you tried and did, maybe even excelled at as a child, like something that you're just now coming back to. Because I feel like coming back to is different than
Sure.
stepping out of your comfort zone and trying something you have really never done before. And so with that, I guess I could open that up. Like, what is something or that you would want to try as an adult that you never did as a kid, but maybe always was kind of, but maybe more traditionally has been tried as a kid to make you think about, yeah, I want to do that.
Sure. Amy already knows the answer to this, I feel like, but Cheryl, you don't know my answer to this. Actually, probably almost 10 years ago, I think I asked Amy and another friend, we were out to dinner, and I was like, if y'all are stuck in Mount Pleasant for your whole life, what do you want to do? Like, what would you add? What would you add? And so that's kind of was my question to Amy's point, asking another question. And mine is I always have liked to sing. I always have enjoyed it. I love a personal concert in my car without my kids where I can listen to whatever I want and sing as loud as I want. Maybe been known to karaoke a couple times, right? But I've never formally sang at anything. I've never been in a choir, right? Like I've never had that presented to me as really an opportunity in college. I probably could have, but didn't, right? Did other things. And so my thing to answer my own question that I asked Amy 10 years ago was I would love to start I haven't decided yet, co-ed maybe, question mark, might just be girl power, but an adult acapella group in Mount Pleasant. I know there's a couple ish types of those already in existence, but I have a different vision for this said a cappella group, which is why I haven't determined if it's going to be co-ed or not. But I would love to do that. I think it would fill my cup. It would give me something to do, but I just need more nudging to do it. And also I feel like my kids, again, are taking kind of precedence over me being able to do some of those things for myself, which is a whole other podcast, right? It's a whole other topic. But that is something that I would love to do and think it would be super fun. And I've never done. So I would need many resources and people who actually know how to be a director of an a cappella group to get
Mhm.
that started.
Yeah, I feel like it's a whole nother podcast for me too. But so I'll, in our last few, what I feel like are seconds, would throw out a couple of things. Midnight library style, I would maybe love a life where I owned a bookstore, especially with this great children's area where there was this magical element and creative space and also like a wine and coffee bar in there.
Say
Um,
less.
yeah, no. A retreat center is another one of those dreams. And, so they're out there. I have them. I think about them all the time. So I love that Amy asks me this on the regular as well. But just feeling like, gosh, there's so much to think about with this, like I think it all circles into us as grown-ups, right? Like for children, the grown-ups are getting in the way. For grown-ups,
Hmm.
ourselves as grown-ups are getting in the way. And so I'm going to walk away today just thinking all about, where am I allowing myself the creativity, curiosity, open mindset to try new things and support anyone, no matter what their age, and trying new things.
100% support that stance, Cheryl. I will also try to leave today with that same thought for myself and for others around me. I hope that one of my friends comes up to me and says, I want to go try gymnastics. And I will say, you do that. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on today, Erin. We really appreciate
Yeah.
having you.
I
Thanks,
wish we had
Erin.
more time. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you both have a great rest of the day. Thanks, everyone else.
Thanks for tuning in to This Was Supposed to Be Easy. Remember, the best stories are the ones we live.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep the conversation going, because life may not be easy, but listening in should be.
Stay curious, stay connected, and keep wondering.